She drove through the night with trembling hands gripping the wheel. In the back seat, 2 little faces slept, unaware that everything they knew was gone forever. Her name was Naomi. And this was the night she stopped being afraid. If you've ever had to start over from nothing, if you've ever loved someone who broke you instead of holding you, this story is for you. Before we go on, take a moment to subscribe, because here, every story reminds us that no matter how dark the night gets, dawn always comes. Naomi had once believed in fairy tales. She thought love meant patience, forgiveness, endurance. But somewhere between the broken plates and the bruised apologies, she learned that love without safety is just fear in disguise. Her husband, Marcus, had a smile that fooled everyone, the kind that could charm a room and chill her blood at the same time. Behind closed doors, he measured her worth by how quiet she could stay. She learned to read his moods like weather. The storms always came without warning. That night, after another outburst over a burnt dinner, something inside her broke for good. She saw her little boy covering his sister's ears, and for the first time, Naomi realized. She wasn't protecting her children by staying. She was teaching them that pain was normal. So, when Marcus fell asleep, she packed 2 bags, lifted her babies from their beds, and whispered, "Mummy's taking you home now." She didn't know where home was, only that it had to be somewhere far away from there. Hours turned into days. She slept in parking lots, washed up in gas station bathrooms, fed her kids crackers and juice boxes. Each mile felt like freedom and failure. Freedom from him. Failure because she had nowhere to go. One night, the car broke down near a small town she didn't even know the name of. Rain poured so hard she could barely see. That's when a truck pulled up beside her. A man stepped out, mid-40s, kind eyes, voice steady. "Need some help, ma'am?" Naomi's first instinct was fear. Men meant danger. She clutched her kids tighter, but something in his tone, gentle, patient, told her he wasn't there to harm her. His name was Caleb, a mechanic who lived a few miles up the road. He fixed her flat tire, paid for her gas, and said quietly, "You look like someone who hasn't been treated right in a long time." She froze. He didn't ask for her story. He didn't pry. He just said, "When you're ready to stop running, you can stop here." For the first time in years, Naomi slept without fear of footsteps outside her door. Caleb offered her and the kids a room above his workshop, said it wasn't much, but it was safe. He never crossed boundaries, never raised his voice. He made breakfast, fixed her car, built her trust piece by piece. Weeks passed. Naomi started to laugh again, quietly at first. She found a part-time job at a diner, enrolled her kids in school, and began saving money. One afternoon, Caleb stopped by with flowers. Naomi frowned, unsure how to accept kindness without suspicion. He smiled. "They're not for what you think." He handed her the bouquet and said, "These are for a woman who forgot she's a queen." The word hit her like sunlight after a long winter. Queen. No one had ever called her that before. That night, as her kids slept peacefully for the first time in years, Naomi cried, not from pain, but from the realization that she was finally free to feel loved. Freedom, however, doesn't erase the past. 2 months later, she received a message on her old phone, one she'd forgotten she even had. It was Marcus. "You think you can hide from me?" The text sent ice through her veins. Caleb found her trembling on the porch. He read the message, looked her in the eye and said, "You don't have to be afraid anymore. You have people now." With his help, Naomi went to the police. She filed reports, shared evidence, got a restraining order, things she'd been too scared to do before. Days later, Marcus showed up at the diner. He shouted, grabbed her wrist, and for a moment the old fear took over. But then Naomi looked around. Her co-workers stepped forward. Caleb was already walking through the door, and for the first time she was the one who said, "Let go of me." The police arrived minutes later. Marcus was arrested. And just like that, the man who'd once controlled her entire world was gone. Months passed. Naomi started a small catering business. She called it Queen's Table. She hired other women who had survived what she had, gave them work, purpose, and hope. Her kids smiled more now. They didn't flinch at loud noises anymore. And Caleb? He was still there, quietly, steadfastly, never trying to save her, just reminding her that she'd already done that herself. One evening, as they closed the shop, Naomi looked at him and said, I used to think I was broken, he smiled. You're not broken, Queen. You're proof that gold shines brighter after it's been through the fire. Naomi learned that running away isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the first brave step toward freedom. She learned that love doesn't bruise, it builds, and that sometimes the people who call you Queen are sent to remind you who you've been all along. But just when Naomi finally began to believe her past was behind her, a letter arrived at her doorstep. No return address, just one line written in familiar handwriting. You may have won, but the game isn't over. And that was how everything she thought was over began again. Naomi stared at the letter for a long time before touching it. It lay on her kitchen table, edges crisp, ink bold against white paper. No return address, no name, just the sentence that froze her blood. You may have won, but the game isn't over. Her hands trembled as she turned it over, half expecting to see Marcus's handwriting. But it wasn't. The loops were sharper, the strokes more deliberate. Whoever wrote it wanted her to feel watched. For days, Naomi carried that fear in silence. She smiled for her kids, laughed with her co-workers, but at night, she double-checked every lock. Sometimes she'd wake up convinced someone was standing outside her door. One evening, Caleb found her sitting on the porch clutching that letter like a secret she couldn't burn. He sat beside her without saying a word. When she finally spoke, her voice cracked. What if it's him? What if he's not done? Caleb looked out toward the dark street. Then we face it. Together. It wasn't just what he said. It was how he said it. Steady. Certain. Like a man who wasn't afraid of storms. Still, Naomi couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her. A week later, it happened. She was locking up her catering shop, Queen's Table, when she noticed a black car parked across the street. Engine running, lights off. She froze, keys dangling from her hand. A figure sat inside, unmoving. Naomi's breath caught. The shape of the man, broad shoulders, tilted head, reminded her too much of Marcus. She ducked back inside and called Caleb. He arrived in less than 10 minutes, headlights cutting through the dark. But by the time he stepped out of his truck, the car was gone. Gone, like it had never been there. Caleb searched the street but found nothing, no tracks, no license plate, no sign. Naomi wanted to believe she was imagining it, but deep down she knew she wasn't. Over the next few weeks, strange things began happening. The mailman delivered envelopes with no return addresses. Her shop door would be found slightly ajar even when she was certain she'd locked it. Once, she came home to find a toy, her daughter's old stuffed bear, sitting neatly on her porch, the one she'd left behind when they fled. That night she couldn't sleep. Every creak of the floorboards felt like a whisper. Every shadow looked like him. At dawn, she went to Caleb's workshop. He was already there, hands stained with oil, eyes concerned the moment he saw her. She handed him the bear. He's playing with me, Caleb. He took it gently, then said quietly, or someone wants you to think it's him. Naomi frowned. What do you mean? Sometimes the past finds us, but not the way we expect. The next day, Naomi went to the police again. The officer promised to look into it, but his tone said otherwise. She could tell he thought she was paranoid. Leaving the station, she felt more alone than ever, until she spotted someone waiting by her car. A woman, mid-30s, dark sunglasses, professional clothes. She approached slowly, cautious. The woman held up her hands in peace. Naomi Williams? Who's asking? My name is Detective Jordan. I'm investigating a case that might involve your ex-husband. Naomi's chest tightened. What case? The detective's expression softened. A disappearance. A man named Marcus Reed. He's been missing for 3 weeks. Naomi blinked, trying to process the words. Missing? That couldn't be right. You think I had something to do with that? She whispered. The detective shook her head. No, but I think someone wants you to believe you do. Those words stayed with her all day. They echoed through the shop, followed her home, haunted her dreams. If Marcus was missing, who sent that letter? Who was watching her? And why did it feel like everything was closing in again? That night, Naomi sat at her kitchen table with the letter in one hand and the toy bear in the other. She turned the bear over, tracing its seams, and then she felt it. Something hard inside the stuffing. Her heart skipped. She grabbed scissors, slit the stitching, and a small metal flash drive fell out. Her breath caught. She hadn't seen it before. She plugged it into her old laptop, the one she used for work. A folder opened. It was titled, simply, Confessions. She clicked. A video file appeared. Naomi pressed play. The screen went black, then flickered. A man's face appeared. Bruised, desperate. Marcus. Her hand flew to her mouth as he began to speak. Naomi, if you're watching this, it means they found me. Please, protect the kids. Don't trust anyone, especially not... The screen cut to static, then black. Naomi stared, frozen. Especially not who, she whispered. The laptop beeped. New message. An email notification. No sender name. Just one sentence. You shouldn't have watched that. Naomi's hands trembled as she looked toward the window. Outside, in the rain, a figure stood under a streetlight. Still. Watching. She couldn't see the face, but she knew this wasn't over, not even close. If this story gripped you, share it. Someone needs to hear Naomi's truth. And don't forget to subscribe. The truth behind that video will change everything Naomi thought she knew. About Marcus, about Caleb, and about who's really been watching her